Hi, I'm Jordan Mechner. Way back in the 80s, I made a game for the Apple II called Karateka. Now, 30 years later, I'm working with a small team to do a modern remake of that game, and I'm going to tell you how we did it. The original Karateka took about half an hour to play from beginning to end, if you didn't lose a single fight. That was the catch. There were no 3 lives, no respawns. If you died, you had to start the whole game over from the beginning, and there were lots of ways to die. This is how a 30-minute game kept gamers entertained for days, or weeks, in 1984. Today, games are a lot more forgiving, but this actually makes my job as a game designer harder. And not because I want games to be hard, because in a story, if the hero dies, the story is over. It's a tragic ending, and if the game just ignores that and keeps going on, it takes me out of the story. It breaks the fiction. That's why in the original Karateka, I limited the player to 1 life. Because you're just one guy, flesh and blood, fighting an entire army. If you lose a fight, it really is over. But that was the 80s. I would never get away with that today. The new Karateka is the story of 3 suitors, all in love with the same beautiful princess. You always start out playing as Mariko's true love, the one she really hopes will rescue her. But he's physically the most vulnerable of the 3 suitors, the scrappy underdog. When you play Karateka the first time, odds are, eventually, you're going to lose a fight. And when you do, that's it, the guards throw you off the cliff. But now the second suitor, a monk who's renounced his vows for love, takes up the fight where the true love left off. The monk is a stronger fighter. He has more hit points, his attacks do more damage. So that guard who beat you as the true love, you can actually beat him as the monk and keep playing. But eventually, even the monk might meet his match. And that's when the third suitor steps in. The most powerful of all, the brute. He has no karate style to speak of, just enormous strength. He's almost invincible. So you have 3 lives, but they're 3 different lives. And each one would need his own musical signature.
In terms of the enemies that you fight, in general, they're all represented by the whole orchestra. But as you get further and further along in the game, the orchestral forces that you fight, so to speak, get larger and larger. Earlier on, you're fighting maybe the first boss, and you're dealing with a string orchestra coming back at you. By the time you get to Akuma and the climactic final battle, you've really got this epic full orchestral sound coming at you, and it sets up a kind of a cool dynamic, the solo instrument versus the large orchestra.
That was our guiding philosophy. All of the design choices, from the music and art and animation style to the way the game handles failure, were all made to align the gameplay with the story. Even if you're new to the game, you have a good chance to rescue Mariko as the brute. But when you do, you realize he's not the one she really hoped would carry her off into the sunset. You won the game, but this isn't really the happy ending that Mariko was dreaming of. So you immediately want to go back and try again, to try to win the game as one of the earlier suitors. And all this time, your mastery is growing. The ultimate achievement, the one that unlocks the happiest, most triumphant romantic ending, is to rescue Mariko as the true love. And if you can do this, that means you've played through the entire game without losing a single fight. Just like on the Apple II.